Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. Let me begin with a small prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Ishwaro Guru Ratmeti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Today we have Shri Rammohan ji joining us again on this second concluding part of the lecture on Omkara Upasana as enunciated in the short text of Panchikarana by Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavad Shri Rammohan ji is associated with Chinmaya International Foundation, and he has been conducting Vedanta classes, webinar classes on Upanishads and Prakarana Granthas and other texts. And thank you for coming on our show, sir. We are very fortunate to have you here. So viewers, without further ado, I open the floor to Rammohan ji to start his session.
Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karvavahai, Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Are you able to share, sir?
I'm trying to say, I'm not able to share for some reason. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Give me one.
Koti, can you check? Can you give access?
No. Access is already there.
Okay. Okay.
Now I think I'll do it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
You're able to see my
Yes, sir.
screen?
We are able to see. Yeah.
Good. Namaskara. Very happy to continue our journey into Panchikarana. An innocent looking text which contains only 8 verses. It has been commented by nobody less than Varthika-kar, the primary disciple of Sri Shankaracharya. His name is Sureshvaracharya, well known. And Anandagiri has also written a commentary, a tika on this commentary. And therefore, this text, along with its tika and commentary, runs to about 1,000 lines. Such a important text, and we are able to proceed into it, is the gift of Bhagavan and our Guru Parampara. To recap, in the first session, we took the 2 verses or 2 stanzas of Panchikarana. In the first stanza, after declaring that this text has been composed by Bhagavad Sri Adi Shankaracharya, the text starts outlining what is this Jagat, and starts with the Omkara, which says Om Panchikrita Pancha Mahabhutani. Om is the auspicious Mangala Charana for this text. And Panchikrita Pancha Mahabhutani, tat karyam cha sarvam virat uchyate. Therefore, virat we saw is defined as Brahman associated with the gross element and its effects. Brahman is not conditioned, Brahman is not identified, it is only associated through Maya with the gross element and its effects, which is the entire universe that is visible to us, experienced by us. And then it went on to say, Etat stula shariram atmanaha. This Virat is the essence of this gross body. And Bhagavan Shankaracharya uses a pun here when he says stula shariram. It is like Dehri Deepa Nyaya in Nyaya Shastra, where a lamp which is kept on the doorstep, lights both the inside and the outside of the house. In the same way, this term Stula Sharira references both the gross cosmic Stula Sharira, which is Virat Sharira, and it is also referring to the individual Stula Sharira, which is the Vyashtigata or individual's gross body. Therefore, this Virat is the essence of this gross body, refers to both at the Samashti level as well as the Vyashti level, individual and total, microcosm and macrocosm. We've already seen that Brahman associated with this Sharira gets the name Virat. So Brahman is the essence, is indicated in this statement itself. And then the verse continues saying, Indriya Artha Upalapti Jagritam. Gaining the experience of the gross world through the sense objects. In other words, perception of the sense objects through the sense organs of the individual is declared as waking stage, Jagaritham. Tat ubayat abhimanyatha atma vishvaha. The one who is having abhimana of these two, which two? The gross body as well as the waking state, the absolute self, which is as though identifying now with the individual gross body and the waking world experience as its own, goes by the name Vishwa. Same Brahman is given two names. Prime Minister Modi is referred as Prime Minister for the country, and then when he goes home to his mother, he is referred as my son. The same way, that Brahman which is associated with the entire cosmic creation is called Virat. Same Brahman which has become an individual essence of individual beings in this world is given the name Vishwa. The difference between Virat and Vishwa is Vishwa goes through waking experience. Virat only has association. He does not go through any experience per se. Etatrayam, symbolically, Akara represents these three. Which three? Vishwa, Virat, and the entire gross realm of objects, and also the waking state. So Vishwa and the waking state, Virat and this entire realm of gross objects, all that put together is called Akara. That means whatever is happening to an individual at his waking state and the cosmos at the gross level together is Akara. This is a symbolic representation. And what is Akara? Akara is the one matra of Omkara. Then the text went on in the second verse to say, Apanchikrita pancha mahabhutani pancha tanmatrani tat karyam cha pancha pranaha dashendriyani mano buddhische iti. Saptadashakam, 17 parts. Lingam Bhautikam indicates Hiranyagarbha ityuchyate is called Hiranyagarbha. Brahman, the same Brahman which was associated with the gross body, is now associated with the total subtle body consisting of 17 parts, which are an effect of the nascent elements manifesting as cosmic prana, cosmic mind, intellect, and cosmic instruments of perception and action. It is called Hiranyagarbha. So, Hiranyagarbha is a placeholder for Brahmaji, the creator, is also a placeholder for Sutratma, the inner impeller. It is also a placeholder for Prana in one Upanishad. So, Hiranyagarbha is the name which is synonymous to many other names, and together all of them is actually the essence of the total subtle body. And then etat sukshma shariram atmanah, it is also the essential self of the individual subtle body. And by upalakshana, it means it is also the essence of the total subtle body. Karaneshu upasamkruteshu jagarita samskara rajaha, jaha, ja means janyaha, pratyaha, thoughts, savishayaha, along with its objects, swapna ityuchyate, dreams or thought patterns representing the impression of waking state experience now being experienced in the dream. So dreams are all experiences of a subtle nature which is happening, produced in our mind based upon the memories that we carry of the waking state. And Taijasa is the name for the absolute self now identified with the subtle body and the dream state experiences. And then Etatrayam Ukaraha. Symbolically, Ukara represents these three. Which three? Hiranyagarbha, Taijasa, and the entire subtle realm and the dream state all put together. This, in essence, we have seen so far. In order to grasp this point clearly, what we will do is study it through a tabular form, which is easier for us to grasp. Please note at the bottom, I have drawn something what is known as superimposition. In Sanskrit, we call it as adhyaropa. And what are we to do in our meditation is to do apavada. Apavada means to negate it. So that which is superimposed is to be negated intellectually while we are doing the Omkara Upasana. So one end is Brahman, the absolute truth, which is represented as the essence of the entire creation, which is here. And then at the other end, we have Atma, which is the essence of the individual self. The absolute truth are only these two, and they are one and the same. That single point, which is the central of a small circle, is the same single point which is the essence center of a larger circle. So when we call it as Atma, we are saying it is the center of a small circle or a small Jiva, essence of a Jiva. The same point we are calling it as the essence of the Jagat, which is a larger circle. However, the point is one and the same. That truth is represented at the two ends as the individual substratum and the gross world substratum. The entire root of this superimposition starts with the term called Maya, which means that which is not there. That which is not there. Maya. Ya ma sa Maya. So this Maya creates the five nascent elements, and through a process known as Panchikaranam, these five elements become five gross elements, and in association of Brahman through Maya with these five gross elements, the gross world experiences is created along with the gross world objects. So sense impulses are generated in this world by the gross objects, by the association of Brahman through Maya with the five great elements which have taken the process of Panchikarana, which is actually fivefold division and intermixing, which we have already seen in the last session. And this gross world experience produces an effect known as sensory perception of the gross world in an individual. Every individual gains this experience. The medium through which this experience can take place is known as Sthula Sharira, the individual body. The same material that made up the gross body is that which makes up the individual body. Upanishad says Anna. Anna means that which is produced outside is the one which is still standing up this gross body inside me also. And the Atma, the self, now as though identified with the Sthula Sharira, is given the name Vishwa here, and then it is represented in the Omkara Upasana by a symbolic reference to Akara, which in turn is a pointer to Omkara. These are symbolic references. We've already seen that this Omkara is the first primordial sound, which is looking at Brahman through the first element of creation, which is space, which has got the property of sound. So when sound tries to identify its source, it produces Omkara as the Nada. That Nada is what we are talking about here as that which we are going to use to gain an understanding that this Atma, which is now in the guise of a Jiva with all this conditioning, is none other than Brahman, on whom through Maya all the external world has been superimposed. If this thought becomes very clear in our mind, the rest of Vedanta is just child's play for it. Gooseberry in your hand, says Bhagavan Shankaracharya. The collective gross world, when Brahman is as though associated with it, is given the name Virat. So Virat, Vishwa, and all these elements that form here together is called as Akara, and that is part of Omkara. And we have also seen the same way Brahman through Maya creates the Pancha Tanmatras, or those five gross elements which have not been subjected to the fivefold Panchikarana process. They actually create the sense organs and the indriyas and the subtle body at the individual level and also at the gross level. And the entire dream experience is facilitated by that particular channel. And that is represented and superimposed on Omkara during our meditation. And that is also part of Omkara, which is representing Atma at one end and Brahman at the other end. So all this that is there between the name and an association along with the root, when we say that it is to be negated, apavada, then we will find Atma, the self, which is unconditioned by any experience of the Jiva, and Brahman, the substratum of the entire universe, is one and the same. Now in this, what do we know? We seem to have the known, which is what I know myself and I know or perceive the world. And whatever I perceive as the world alone is what I think the world is so far. So what is unknown is the rest of the creation in the world which is not within the purview of my perception. There is so much of this universe which we do not know about. So the unknown which I do not know and the known that I can infer and know together, all of them are considered as only superimposition. And what is it superimposed on? Brahman, the absolute truth. And if I negate all of that, what will remain? Brahman is equal to Atma. That is what is implied in this entire Panchikarana process so far. If that is clear, Then we will get into the next slide. Sharirad-dvaya karanam atma-jnanam sa abhasam avyakritam ityuchyate etat karana shariram-atmanah taccha na sat na asat napi sadasat na binnam na abinnam napi binna abinnam Kutaschit na niravayam na sa avayavam no ubayam kintu kevala brahmayatmaika jnanan apanodhyam sarva prakara jnanopasamhare buddhehe karanatmana avasthanam shushuptihi taduvayam abhimani atma prajnah etatrayam makarah shariradvaya karanam atma ajnanam, meaning the cause for the two bodies. Which two bodies? The Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira, both at the cosmic level and as well as the individual level, is ignorance of Atma or ignorance of Brahman. Sa abhasam, meaning that is the one which is appearing to be available to us. Avyakritam, that particular thing which is perceivable, when it is withdrawn, meaning it is not available for perception, then it is called avyakritam, that which is not available for person. And the name given to it, etat karana shariram atmanah. This is called causal body of the Atma. So very clear definition is there in this thing, saying that the causal body at the cosmic level and the causal body at the individual level, both are one and the same. And they are caused by ignorance of the truth. The term touch cha na sat na asat napi sadasat. It is neither real nor unreal, not both. We'll see what it is a little bit in detail, but for now we're just seeing the literal meaning of the words. Na binnam, na abhinnam, meaning napi bhinna abhinnam kutaschit. It is ever not separate, nor is it non-separated, neither is it both separate and non-separated. So all the possibilities of separate and independent existing together and partially existing together, partially independent, all that is negated here. Na niravayam, na savayam, no ubayam. It is not without part, nor is it without part, with parts, nor is it both with and without parts. So basically, very conflicting kind of a definition, but we have to study it deeply to understand what it means. Kintu kevala brahmatmaika jnanat apanodhyam, meaning, but when it is removed by the knowledge of knowing the oneness between Atma and Brahman, Brahma Atmaika Ekam, that Brahman and Atman is one and the same, when we know it, this entire Karana Sharira, for both at the Samashti level and at the Vyashti level, is removed. Sarva prakara jnanopasamhare buddhehe karanatma avasthanam shushuptihi. When all types of knowing is arrested in the intellect, what remains as the causal state in us is called deep sleep. When our intellect actually switches off, that ahankara is there, that I notion in us is actually gone to sleep. That is when we are there in the causal state, which is called deep sleep. Tad ubayam abhimani atma prajnah. That which is identifying itself with these two together is called prajna, which two we will see that also a little later. Etatrayam makara. These three put together is called makara. Which three? That also we have to see, but we'll see it in the next slide. Sharira dvaya karanam atma ajnanam sabhasam avyakritam ityuchyate. The subtle body and the gross body are actually created to exhaust the accumulated impressions that are present in us. Sorry. These impressions are created by experiences. And experiences are sought because there is a strong belief in us that I am incomplete. I need to experience the world to become fulfilled. Thus, ignorance of my true nature as being infinite and all-pervading puts us on a quest to experience the world to become fulfilled. And when we gain these experiences of the world, it leaves certain impressions in us, and these impressions which are present in us have to be exhausted. Therefore, there is a perpetuation of the subtle body and the gross body. That is why it is called Sharira Dvaya Karanam. That is why it is called Karana Sharira. Because it is the one which causes the upspringing of the subtle body and the gross body, so that the accumulated impressions that are there in me are exhausted. Both at the Brahman level, I want to experience, even at the individual level, I want to experience. The only difference is at Brahman, I know I am infinite Brahman. At the individual level, I have become conditioned to be a Jiva today. And once I know I am Atma, the essentially Brahman in the so-called individual existence surrounding me, I will immediately get liberated to my true nature. That means I will no longer need to exhaust any accumulated impression, because there is no accumulated impressions at all. Thus, ignorance of my true nature as being infinite is the cause. Atma Ajnanam. That is the primary cause for this entire creation. That which is appearing as outside of me, as the body, mind, and intellect, and also the world, are both only an appearance. I, in my essence, am pervading both that which I think I am today, which is my body, mind, and intellect, and also that which I am thinking I'm experiencing outside, which is this Stula Jagat. I am pervading it as the truth. That Atma Jnanam is what is meant here as that which will liberate me. And Atma Ajnanam is opposite of it. Meaning, if I do not have that knowledge, then Sharira Dvaya Karanam will happen. That itself becomes the impeller for the two bodies to be created. If all the people in this world have become liberated, then Hiranyagarbha gets liberated. Funny term, right? Brahmaji will get liberated. He will have nothing to do. All of us will be abiding in Brahman. So when Brahmaji first created the first unit of creation, the four Manasika Putras, they were so sattva that instantly they got this knowledge and realization. So they said, there's nothing for me to do in this world because everything is complete. I am Purnam. So they never indulged in any experience. So Brahmaji got disappointed in that thought sequence. He said, no, I must cloud that thought sequence some more. So second attempt, he made Prajapati. Prajapatis have very high regard to what is the truth, but they were also able to entertain thoughts. Then that thoughts of Prajapati created the secondary creation, and it went on and on and on. We see the entire world today. So this appearance and the ignorance of myself is together called that from which everything manifests, avyakritam. So this Atma Jnanam is that from which everything is apparently manifesting, which are manifesting the appearance of myself and the ignorance of my nature, ajnanam. All that is together called that from which everything manifests. I need to have two things. One, I should have an individual existence which is limited, and I should also have an ignorance of my infinite nature. Both should happen. Then only this entire manifestation process will start. Vyaktam means manifest. Avyaktam means that, Vyakrutam means that which causes manifestation. Avyakrutam means that in which causes the unmanifesting, that in which everything will repose, everything will slide back. So avyakrutam is that in which everything that is appearing is folding back. That is called Atma Jnanam here. And Puja Gurudev uses the term non-apprehension and misapprehension for Atma Jnanam and Sabhasam. Along with not knowing the self, projecting something else is together called avyakrutam here. That is what we have to understand. The root is thus Atma Ajnanam, which is the cause, appearance, and the unmanifesting of the two bodies. So two bodies will be caused, they will appear to function, and they will be unfolded back or unmanifested back into that cause. That is called Atma Ajnanam or ignorance, which is also going to be called as Karana Shariram. Etat Karana Shariram Atmanaha. For the Atma, this ignorance in the form is the form of causal body. Please note that it is not called merely Karana, but it is called as the causal body, Karana Sharira. So it is a body that the Atma has adorned. So the Karana Shariram is the one which causes the other two Sharira. Atma is not causing any Sharira. So unless I have downgraded myself from that Atma nature to a Jivatma nature, then that identity starts. When I identify myself with this Karanam Sharira and I will become Jivatma, then I will start projecting my subtle body and the gross body and experience the world. The moment I withdraw that identification and become one with that Atma, which is the essence of even the causal body, then there is no creation both at the cosmic level for me and there is no creation at the subtle level for me. This much is packed into this one single innocuous looking verse that we have just studied. If this has become clear, let us now go further into it. What is the nature of this Karana Sharira? Is it real? Is it unreal? Is it something different from real and unreal? That is explained in the next line, which says, Tat cha na sat, na asat, na api sat tasat. It is neither real nor unreal and not both of them. Ha! Very complicated answer. Either something can be real or something can be unreal. And it is neither real, not unreal, and not a mixture of both real and unreal. What they call the mixed reality, hallucination, right? It is neither of all these three things. Means that we come to a full stop. Our intellect will say, what is this? How can I know about it? That which is real will never go away. But we know that our ignorance of everything will go away whenever we gain the knowledge of that which we did not know. If I do not know counting numbers 1 to 100 and the teacher teaches me, then that ignorance of counting has gone away by the knowledge of counting, correct? In the same way, when the ignorance of my name is removed by constant repetition and I gain the knowledge of my name, then that ignorance of my name has gone away, correct? In the same way, if I come to know that this causal body, which I thought is me, is not me, then the ignorance born out of believing this causal body to me is me goes away. So when we gain the knowledge that this causal body is not me, then no longer this causal body is Sat. It is Asat only because it is going away. But at the time till I gained that knowledge, it was present. So it is not Asat also. It is not like something that did not exist ever. It came to be there. That ignorance was there, but it is also going away. So it is neither absolutely true, which will never go away, nor is it absolutely false, which means it will never appear to be. And so therefore, it is something other than these two. Can we say that it is both Sat and Asat, meaning it is there and it is also not there? Then there will be a problem, because anything that is there is there. You cannot say it is not there at the same time. One cannot say that. So therefore, existence of Sat and Asat together, which is called Sat Asat, is also not applicable. So therefore, this verse says, Tach na Sat, meaning it is, you cannot call it as existing because it goes away, nor can you call it as Asat, meaning it is non-existing because it is seen and experienced in ignorance. And nor can you say it is a mixture of both, because both of them cannot be together. Either I am liberated or I am bound. I cannot be both liberated and bound at the same time. That is what is meant by this particular. Now let us say that it is not existing at all. Let us see why I am saying it is not existing at all. It can never be experienced. That means I do not have a causal body. Let us say my mind and my physical body are the only instruments which are available to me. That alone is me. But everybody in our deep sleep, we experience our causal body without the mind, without the intellect, without the ahankara, but I am there. So that I, which is identified with that ignorance, was present in my deep sleep is becoming clear. So it existed, but it will also go away. So therefore, it is neither Sat nor Asat, and it cannot be both, because combining existence and non-existence cannot be together. If something is existing, it cannot become non-existent, and something is non-existing, it cannot become existent. So it is something uniquely different from absolute truth or absolute false, which we call it as fuzzy logic in mathematics. Basically, we'll say there is a probability theory that it is and it is not. That is how maths addresses it. And the moment you go into the realm of probability, the reality of a substance becomes vague. You cannot do any serious mathematical work, or conclusive decisions cannot be taken. We can make hazy estimates at best. So therefore, Upanishad has to handle this Karana Sharira properly, and that we will see how it does by bringing up the famous rope and snake example in Vedanta. In Vedanta, a coiled rope appears as a snake at the first glance. You see that right at the middle, there's a head with an eye and it's ready to open. It looks like a cobra. And the moment I tell you it's a coiled rope, immediately the snake has vanished and you're perceiving the coiled rope. So there are some 4 axiomatic rules in this example. Ignorance of the rope is the cause for the snake. So when I did not know it is a rope, the snake was projected on it. So the cause for the snake is the ignorance of the rope. When the rope is known, the snake has vanished. So ignorance of the truth of something is causing an appearance of something else. And when the truth of something which is a substratum has been recognized and known and asserted, then the superimposition snake vanishes. And the third rule is that snake and rope cannot be seen at the same time. If I visualize it as a rope, I will no longer see the snake. And if I'm visualizing it as the snake, I cannot perceive the rope at all. So both cannot exist together. That is what is sadasat means. Another important thing, the snake is experienced exactly where the rope is. The easiness of the snake does not vary even an inch away from the snakeness. Other way, the easiness of the snake has been borrowed from the easiness of the rope in shape, size, whatever you want to say. Even in it is conditioned nature that it is a snake, it is exactly the rope I'm seeing. But I am not seeing the rope because of limitations of my knowledge. And in ignorance, I'm presuming it to be a snake. And after that starts all the other kind of thoughts and worries, concerns. It will bite me. If I bite, I will have to be hospitalized. It is a very vicious snake. The poison is so instantaneous, I will die in 3 seconds. Fear starts coming, heartbeat starts increasing. All those effects are produced. Anyway, this example proves that Karana Sharira, which is an illusory projection on the truth, is neither true nor untrue, nor a mixture of truth and false, and it is exactly having the locus on where the truth lies. So when you are in Karana Sharira, you are actually experiencing that Brahman, but you don't know it because of your experience, because of your ignorance. Then the next statement says, na binnam, na abhinnam, na pi binna abhinnam. Kutaschit, meaning forever not separate, nor is it ever non-separated, neither is it both separate and non-separated. Very confusing statement, but if you break it up, it becomes clear. Let's see what it means. We cannot postulate that this Karana Sharira, which we studied in the last verse here right now, Sharira is made up of parts. You cannot say that Atma and ignorance are two parts of this Karana Sharira. Like you say, electron, the atom is made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. They are all parts. You cannot say that this particular Karana Sharira is a mixture of Atma and ignorance. Some part of it is Atma and some part of it is ignorance, because if that is true, we should be able to see the absolute ignorance someplace. But always ignorance is associated and related to the knowledge it is obscuring. That means wherever the knowledge of something is not complete, that is where ignorance is locust. So the ignorance, when you say ignorance caused the snake, you must always say ignorance of the rope caused the snake. So the snake is tied to the rope by the ignorance itself. So you cannot say that the snake is separately there and the rope is somewhere in heavens and it will descend when we gain knowledge. That you cannot say. You cannot say that Bhagavan is there somewhere and I as a Jiva one day will become realized and Bhagavan will descend from heaven, become one with me, and then I will be liberated. Not like that. What it means is that the ignorance of your true nature is exactly residing where your true nature is. That is what is the last thing we saw. Snake is experience where the rope is. Wherever the rope is, that is where the experience of the snake is. So you cannot say it is having parts. We cannot say that ignorance and Atma are non-separate, because if you say they are not separate, they have become one. So ignorance is itself not knowing Atman. When you say, I do not know Atman, the ignorance of Atman is implied in that. So you cannot say that Atma will be separate, its ignorance is lodged somewhere else. So Brahman was sitting somewhere in the heaven. Ignorance of Brahman is residing in me as Karana Sharira. That's also wrong, because you cannot say that not knowing oneself cannot be locus away from the self. Again, the same reason snake is experienced where exactly the rope is, not elsewhere, not in the next street, etc. And the last thing, we cannot postulate that ignorance of Atma and the existence of Atma are together. That will be contradictory according to logic. That is also impossible. How can ignorance of something be exactly there when the knowledge of that thing is also present? If I know that this is a rope, can you superimpose the snake on it? You cannot. The snake has vanished. Ignorance is therefore not an independent entity, is proved by the statement na binnam na abhinnam na api binna abhinnam kutaschit. Ever, it can never be separated. They are together. Ignorance is not an absolute thing. It is the absence of something else, a malnutrition in the system which causes the ignorance to as though materialize. Ignorance is not a thing because ignorance can make a thing appear to be every other thing other than what it isn't. So when you say, I do not know it is a snake, you can always say that not knowing the rope produced the snake, but not knowing the rope can also produce an anaconda snake. It can produce a beetle, it can produce a worm, it can produce any effect you want, you can superimpose on it depending on the conditioning of the ignorance. So therefore, you cannot say that ignorance is independent. Ignorance is dependent exactly on that which is hiding, which is hidden behind the ignorance. And the knowledge of the thing will remove the ignorance. So much we have to understand from this one single statement. Then, na niravayam, na sa avayam, no ubayam. Avayam means it is not without parts, nor is it with parts, nor is it having with and without parts. You cannot call this particular Karana Sharira is made up of parts. If we say that Karana Sharira in individual level has parts, then the experience of this Karana Sharira, which is experienced by all people going to sleep, you inquire 1,000 people and they will all come and say, in my deep sleep, I did not know anything. I was comfortably sleeping. Everybody says that, whatever be their gender, whatever be their country, whatever be their language, they will speak in different language, but the message is the same. They will all say, Ami kimapi na janami. I did not know anything. I did not experience anything. That there is no difference in the experience between person to person. That means everybody has the same experience. So you cannot say the one person had different Karana Sharira, another person has got another kind of Karana Sharira. The ignorance is the same across all people. Now if we say that maybe if we postulate that ignorance is not having any part, meaning that my ignorance is the ignorance of everybody else also. There is no separation between them because they are all together, right? So can I say a layer of ignorance is covering all of us? The answer is no. If we postulate that ignorance is not having any part, then a jnani and his ignorance student cannot exist. The moment jnani comes and sits in front of a student, the student who is sharing the same Karana Sharira should know that jnani is aware that he is having a Karana Sharira which is only an apparent impression. The student also must instantly be aware of it. So therefore, you cannot say that it is not differentiated. So it is differentiated between people and people and people. At the same time, there is a commonality in its experiencing. So ajnana is common, but the liberation is individualistic. That is what is meant here in this particular. If we postulate that maybe in all of us we have ajnana and jnana together, and what Guru does is removes that ajnana in me, and the jnana in me will jump and fill up the part. That also cannot be held true, because if you say that there is a general knowledge of ignorance and there is a specific liberation or lack of knowledge in individual also. Two kinds of ignorances are there. It is not possible because part and partlessness cannot coexist. So you cannot say something is divided in between everybody. At the same time, it is also holistically together. You cannot say that because such a thing is counter logic, meaning part and partlessness cannot be together. Either it is having part or it is not having part. You cannot have homogeneity and parts together in a system. It won't work. So what is the nature? Kintu kevala brahmatmaika brahmatmaikava sorry brahma atma ekatvam jnana upanodhyam, meaning but then it is removed by the knowledge of knowing the oneness between Atma and Brahman. It is known from the experience of Jnani that ignorance of Atma can be removed by the knowledge of oneness of Jiva and Brahman. Knowledge of something removes the ignorance of it. This is our universal experience. Therefore, it is that which is removed by the knowledge. That much is what we have to understand. And what is the knowledge? The knowledge is that the Jiva essentially is Atma, and that Atma in essence is none other than Brahman, which is the essence of the entire universe. What is the effect produced by this Karana Sharira? The deep sleep state is now defined for us. Sarva prakara jnana upasamhare buddhehe karana atmana avasthanam sushuptihi. Here, sarva prakara jnana, all types of knowing. We have various sense organs. We have inferring, we have logic, we have upalabdhi, anupalabdhi, and so many means of knowledge we have. Logic, inference, and then you have this absence, presence, coexistence. All these means of knowledge that we employ, we come to know what is there in the waking world. And this particular waking world experience that is experienced through our intellect, when is arrested, meaning when it is put to a stop, when this intellect itself has stopped analyzing the entire experiential world, what remains as the causal state of this entire experiencing world is called deep sleep. The causal state is experienced by all beings when all the mental activities goes into recess, and then what remains is ignorance and consciousness are the together coming together. I am conscious of my ignorance. That is called Karanamatma. I am aware of my ignorance, but I am not knowing my ignorance. I have a general awareness of my ignorance, but I don't have a specific knowledge of my ignorance. When that is experienced, that is called deep sleep state. In that state, we do not know our own self nor the entire world. As an example, when we are having our eyes wide open, and yet we are staying in some pitch dark place where nothing is discernible except only dark, not even a single wee little bit of light is there in front of us, then one is seeing. I have an awareness of everything around me. My eyes are functioning, but no signals are perceived because there is a uniform pitch darkness that is pervading into me from the outside. And though we would say that we are seeing nothing, actually, in truth, what are we seeing? We are actually seeing that the darkness. I am seeing the darkness, but when you are questioned as to what you are seeing, you will say, I saw nothing. Why do we say we saw nothing? Because nothing was discernible as being separate from each other. There is one homogeneous black pitch darkness, which I am seeing, but I don't recognize that seeing because I don't have a specific awareness of the darkness. I was looking for objects only. The conditioning that our intellect has been put forth due to various experiences in the waking state makes it believe that when nothing is available of known to me, which is called the waking state, which is vividity, then I assume that I am seeing nothing. So whenever I am in an homogeneous environment of pitch dark blackness, I will call it as I see nothing. In deep sleep too, we are actually seeing our ignorance. And we are actually becoming one with that ignorance. And this Atma and the ignorance together, that conditioned state is called sleep, deep sleep state. And that experience is an experience of that ignorance. That's all. I am not seeing myself, but I am seeing my reflection in that ignorance, which is present as one homogeneous, unconditioned ignorance, which is all pervading, which is common for all beings. That is what is meant here. Tat ubaya abhimani atma prajna. That which identifies with these two, which two? The deep sleep experience of ignorance and the Karana Sharira, which produced this particular experience, together is called prajna. I'm identifying myself with my ignorance and also with my deep sleep state. Both put together, when I'm saying I am experiencing nothing, I'm actually experiencing my ignorance and its effect as nothingness. Both are being experienced by me. And when I say I am, I add to that, that is when I become prajna. That I is the Atma, but now it is getting identified with that experience of nothingness, and therefore it becomes prajna. When one wakes up after deep sleep, one will own up that one did not know anything. Yet everyone experiences a tranquil state of bliss while in that state of deep sleep. That tranquil state of bliss, which is common to all beings, is our experience of ourself, reflected in that ignorance of ourself as nothingness. So that nothingness represents a carbon copy of our bliss, but exactly opposite of our bliss, we experience it as nothingness. Interesting, right? The individual and the individual who had identified oneself with both the causal body and the Karana Sharira and the experience of deep sleep, and this individual goes by the name Prajna. He is called Prajna in this particular mantra. The individual had identified oneself with both the causal body, Karana Sharira, and the experience of deep sleep, and he is going by the name Prajna. The Karana Sharira and deep sleep identity expresses when they come together as I did not know anything. And I was in a state of tranquility comes from Atma. So the tranquility that we are experiencing, the peace, the quietude, the enjoyment, the bliss that we get is coming from Atma. I do not know anything is coming from the ignorance aspect of ourselves. This much, if we understand, the whole riddle of this entire cosmic equation becomes easy for us to grasp. Etatrayam makaraha. The three of them together is represented by makara of Omkara. The deep sleep state, along with Karana Sharira and Prajna, is associated with the makara in Omkara. That is what is meant here. And the next mantra continues, which is the last of our discussion today. Akara, ukare, ukaro, makare, makara, omkaro, aham yeva, aham atma sakshi kevalaha, chinmatra swarupaha, na ajnanam, napi tatkaryam, kintu nitya shuddha buddha mukta satya swabhavam paramananda advayam pratyak bhuta chaitanyam brahmaiva aham asmi iti abhedena avasthana samadhihi tattvamasi aham brahmasi ityadi shrutibhyah. Akara, which is representing the entire gross, is to be folded back into Ukara, representing everything that is subtle. And everything that is subtle, Ukare, Makare, meaning that Ukara is to be folded back into Makara, merged into Makara. And Makara is to be merged into Omkara, the self, the true self is that Omkara. That much we have to meditate on. Omkara, that is, merge that Omkara into the self. That is what is meant here. Aham Atma Sakshihi. I am only a mere witness to this play of Maya. Chinmatar Swarupa, of the nature of consciousness, meaning not conscious of something, but the awareness that pervades the entire world as just knowing, generally knowing. Na ajnanam na api tat karyam. I am not of the nature of ignorance, meaning karna sharira is ignored, and nor am I any of its effects, meaning both my sukshma and stula sharira is also negated. Any identity I have with those two is negated. And Paramananda Advayam. Sorry. Kintu, what am I? I am of the nature of eternal, pure awareness bliss. Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Satya, Svabhava. My nature as Satyam, meaning eternally true. Nityam means eternal. Shuddham means pure. Buddha means consciousness. Mukta means liberated. Satya Svabhavam means existence, truth existence. Svabhavam is my absolute nature. I am having an absolute nature of being eternally pure, eternally aware, eternally unbound, eternally existent, and eternally the absolute truth. Paramananda Advayam, of the nature of non-dual supreme bliss. That is what is Paramananda Advayam. Advayam means non-dual. Pratyak Bhuta Chaitanyam. Though consciousness of every individual, though I am appearing as the consciousness of every single individual, I am in essence not bound by any of these individual conditioning that is being superimposed on me. Brahmaiva aham asmi. That infinite Brahman I am. I am indeed the very substratum of all beings and all non-beings in this world. Iti. That means it is over. Abedena avasthana samadhihi. Remaining established in that state without any differences between the meditator and the meditator, through the Mahavakyas Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasi, etc., using the focus of the Mahavakyas contained in the Shruti, that thou art, I am Brahman, etc. This is what is to be practiced, is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya is sharing us. This is the process of meditation associated with Panchikaranam. Iti Panchikaranam Bhavati. That is what is meant here. This is the word by word meaning. Let's see a little bit deeper here. Akara Ukare. Akara is in Ukara. Actually, Akara, for it to begin, Ukara is the root for it. So from Ukara only Akara is produced. Therefore, Akara is to be rolled back into Ukara. And Akara and Ukara becomes Om. The waking state melts away into sleep state, and Vishwa merges into Taijasa, and Stula Sharira merges into Sukshma Sharira is implied in the statement. So when I am meditating on Om, as I have to fold back that Akara aspect of Om into my Ukara aspect. That means my identities, both at the cosmic level as Vishwa, and at the individual level, sorry, at the cosmic level as Virata, and at the individual level Vishwa, has to be merged back into their cause, which is respectively Hiranyagarbha and Taijasa, and the Sthula Shariram that I am possessing, of which I have great identity, that has to be folded back into my Sukshma Shariram, meaning all experience of this Sthula Shariram is only possible because I am possessing a mind. So I absorb my Sthula Shariram as a mere projection in my mind. It is no longer an independent entity outside of me. I cannot perceive it with unless I am possessed of a mind. That is what is called folding back here. Let's see more. Ukare Makara. Ukara is in Makara. We have to understand that Ukara is stemming from Makara. Ukara is merged into Makara. Therefore, the dream and the waking stage experiences merges into deep sleep. Waking person, dreamer, merges into deep sleeper. That means Vishwa and Taijasa is together folded back into Pragya. And Stula and Sukshma Shariras, which I am possessing, are merged into one homogeneous Karma Sharira of ignorance. That is what is called as Ukare Makara. And then the meditation should continue Makara Omkare. Makara merges into Omkara. Makara is normally merged into avidya, ignorance by nature, meaning whenever we are going into deep sleep, this Makara, the aspect is actually sitting in our ignorance. But with the knowledge now that we are possessing that all this is mere superimposition, I will ignore the ignorance and then merge this Makara, which represents my deep sleep state, where I have withdrawn all my personal existence outside through my mind and physically through the world, into that absolute Brahman represented in Omkara. So then when I chant Om, I become one with that absolute truth. And in that Omkara, you can experience that infinite Brahman's presence itself. That is what is meant in by the term Makara Omkare. Omkaro Aham Eva. That Omkara which I have so far recognized as a sound symbol representing Brahman is me. It is in me that Omkara is coming, not from anywhere outside. It is not a representation of some Brahman outside, but Aham Atma, which is my true nature. That Brahman Omkara is merged into the true I of the nature of amness. This is actually a Mahavakya. Jiva Brahma Aikyam is indicated in this one particular segment of this text. So when you're saying Om, you have to say that Om is me. That Om is emanating from me. That subtle you, which is beyond all opinions of yourself, which is actually a bindu, a small dot in you, that from which even this Omkara is appearing, that is you, which is the essence of even the term called Brahman. That particular subtle point, you catch it and you remain abiding in that, understand that you have realized. Otherwise, you are only going in circles. And what is the nature of that particular aham? Aham Atma Sakshi Kevalaha Chinmatra Swarupa. That pulsating I in me is of the nature of an awareness which is all pervading. I am at once aware of everything, not specifically aware of anything. I become one with the existence of everything else, but I am aware of their existence, but I am not qualifying them as this is like this is like that, which comes later. No longer the effects of the upadhi and the three bodies will affect me. Sakshi Kevalaha Chinmatra Swarupava. I am of the nature of witness consciousness, meaning I am witnessing everything, but nothing is affecting me. I am in that state of awareness, which is a general awareness of everything, in which I find peace and tranquility descending on me. That is the state of meditation which is prescribed here. Na ajnanam. there is no ignorance in me anymore, because even that ignorance was a Maya Karya which I superimposed at the Samashti level, and at the Vyashti level I took it as my ignorance. That is destroyed. And along when that is destroyed, all the effect that it produced outside as this diversity in the world, and all the effect that it produced in me as my Sukshma Sharira and Stula Sharira Abhimani, everything is dissolved in that awareness of that truth which destroys that ajnanam, na pitatsaryam. There is no longer ignorance of my true infinite nature, and nor the effects of ignorance in any form whatsoever. That is the projection of the two bodies and the transaction these two bodies are experiencing in the world. All that is destroyed in one go. I become truly liberated. But then what is my true nature if it is not all of this? That is defined as Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Satya Swabhavam. I am of the nature of eternal, meaning there is no death or coming and going for me. Nitya means that I am pure without any taint of Maya's gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. I am of the nature of pure awareness, not a conditioned knower, which I have believed so far myself to be. I am free from all the effects of raga, dvesha, papa, punya, karma cycle. I am of the nature of existence, meaning an absolute existence, which I know I am there. And the term is a single term, which is a compound, naturally free, pure, existent, awareness, eternal principle. You cannot say that I am this, and that. It is a compound term which is at once naturally free, pure, existence, awareness, eternal principle. All that put together is one term. That means it represents one entity. That I am is what we have to understand. Each one of them will destroy one aspect of this projection that has been postulated before. Paramananda Advayam. I am of the nature of supreme bliss. The bliss that we experience today in the world is called limited bliss. It is not Paramananda, it is just Ananda. But I am Paramananda means that bliss which is created because I don't have any more a need to experience anything outside. That is something that is not going to come and go. Earlier, when I experienced something, it came to me, therefore I was happy. Then it went away, I became sad. So that happiness and sadness is a cyclic happiness and sadness. That bliss which is born out of my nature as being non-dual. See, the Upanishad does not use the term ekam here. Please understand. Sorry, this particular text does not use the word ekam here, because ekam could philosophically give rise to the possibility of 2, 3, etc. If I say 1, then there is a possibility of 2, 3, 4, 5 existing, because 1 is automatically followed by 2, right? So even that indirect reference to a sequence is destroyed by the term non-dual. So the term non-dual means there is no second, third, etc. is implied here. There is no multiplicity. Everything is precluded. It is not that in that sequence of manyness, I am one, but it is I am the absolute truth of all sequences. So there is no duality or tertiality or multiplicity in me. That is what is implied in this particular part of the statement. Pratyak Bhuta Chaitanyam. I am of the sentiency principle. That is the awareness of each and every being on whom people are able to superimpose their consciousness of feeling. That is, the feeling that they are conscious or the feeling that they know something is superimposed on their own awareness of their existence. First, I must know I exist, then only I can say I know these things, correct? So the knowingness is superimposed on the I-ness, which is me. I am that sentiency principle and awareness of my own existence. The essential self is that awareness principle, which is intrinsically self-aware. I don't need anything else to tell me that I am there. And because I am existing, I can lend myself to every other experience that I am subjected to. That awareness in the intellect is performing its role of saying I am, and then it gives itself to every other experience the intellect is presented through the mind and the senses. So when the senses bring out something from the world outside, and I say, I know this, I'm experiencing happiness, I can smell, I can eat, I can run, I can walk, all that I part of it is coming from this awareness, and all other things are attachments which are added to this. That pratyagabhuta chaitanyam, that absolute awareness of every being, I am, unconditioned awareness you call it. And that awareness is the one which enables me to recognize sentiency and inertness around me. I can say so and so is alive, so and so is a matter, so and so is sentient, so and so is insentient, so and so is good, so and so is bad. All this discrimination is possible because of that self-awareness of me, which I am lending to this particular BMI that I have donned today. So through this BMI, I use my awareness to subclassify the world around me as alive and not alive based on the experience of the conditioning. That's how it is to be understood. Brahmaiva aham asmi. That Brahman, which is the essence of beings, both inert and sentient in this universe, all things in this universe, the essence is Brahman, is none other than me as existence, awareness, infinite bliss in me, which we have already postulated a moment back. So that aham is the essence of the entire universe. Aham Brahmasmi is what we have to understood here. Iti abedena avasthanam samadhihi. In this way, one has realized the oneness of myself and the essence of the entire universe as being one and the same, Jiva Brahma Aikyam, and is abiding in that state of knowledge. That is this meditation. That is called the samadhi. Samyak adinam, meaning well placed mind and intellect, which recognizes this understanding and holds it firmly in itself without shaking from that awareness, without allowing it to be disturbed by any contra thinking, without having any doubts on that being true, and knowing that the source from which I got this knowledge is the absolute truth, which is the Upanishads. One, when is presented to such a firm belief, that is called meditation in Vedanta, nothing else. Tattvamasi aham brahmasi ityadi shrutibhyaha. The Mahavakyas in the Vedas, which promulgate the essence of all Vedanta, such as Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, etc., are only teaching and asserting this, is what Pujya Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya is expounding in this text called Iti Panchikaranam Bhavati. This is the process of meditation associated with Panchikaranam. He concludes the text in this way. Now, coming to our famous chart, now let's fill up the rest of the lines. One hand we have, as I said, so one hand I have Brahman, which is the essence of the entire universe. Other end I have landed myself in Atma, which is the essence of me, devoid of all identities that I possess. How did I make this Atma become one with Brahman? By knowing that it is through the effect of Maya that this entire Jagat is being created. How did Maya create the Jagat? Brahman, when it wielded the so-called imaginary power, elusive power called Maya, it projected itself as though associated with the power of Maya to create and became what is known as Ishvara. And that Ishvara is manifestation at the Jiva level is actually avidya or ignorance. Funny, right? that all-powerful Ishvara becomes as though a limited being in individual as ignorance, avidya. That Maya's effect, which is a power, has become a controller in us as avidya, ignorance, and experience of nothingness is the effect of that ignorance in individual, and withdrawal of the intellect and identification with that nothingness is the effect it produces in the individual, and this is known as Karana Sharira. And then Pragya, the self, is the name given to the Atma, which is as though identified with this particular Karana Sharira, and the experience of nothingness which it produces. That Karana Sharira Atma is to be linked to Makara of Omkara, and then we merge this Makara into Ukara, Ukara into, sorry, Akara into Makara, Makara in, Akara into Ukara, Ukara into Makara, and finally all of them into Om. And Om represents the Brahman as a sound symbol, and that I merge it into Atma. And through this link that I got, that Om is representing Brahman, while I am chanting Om, I am visualizing that all-pervading Brahman, which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and that Atma, which is devoid of all conditioning, is also Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupaha Satyaha. And when I merge these two, I become one with that absolute truth. This much we have been able to cover. And I thought it is time I took a few questions, because this is a fairly exhaustive text, and I had to cover only the bird's eye view of the mantra and the verses, because I wanted to stick only to what is in this text. I could not connect everything else that is there in Vedanta. So in the grasping or in understanding, there may be some gaps. So if there are any questions, you may ask them. I'll be more than glad to share them with you. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Rammohanji, for another wonderful and enlightening session. Viewers, if you have any questions, please do share. We will wait for a few minutes to receive questions from you. Rammohanji, one of the difficult things to make sense of or to intellectually understand is the notion of Vyasti and Samasti. I mean, Virat at the cosmic level and Vishwa at the individual level. I think the Vedantic position is that they are non-different. So they are actually essentially same, but still we speak them in one in the universal context, one in the individual context. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha and Taijasa and Pragna and what is the Samasti?
Ishvara.
Ishvara, yes. So how should we make sense of this? What is the correct way to understand? I think that is most important for understanding Omkara Upasana, even in Mandukya Upanishad, right?
Excellent. There are two examples we can take. One is an abstract example, which is often quoted in many Vedantic texts. The example is one of ocean. And if you see the ocean at the bottom and the waves at the top, and a small droplet of wave which is detaching itself from the wave and just falling separately. So three elements of an ocean we can experience directly. I know there's a tranquil, calm, quiet, large expanse of water known as ocean. And when the wind plays on it, the same ocean surface becomes the waves. So if you say it is a wave, the oceanness in it is gone. And if you say it is an ocean, then the waviness has to be dropped. This applies to even the water droplet. If you say that it is a water droplet, then the wave has lost its identity. So when you're looking at the ocean, at the same time, you're seeing a drop of water, you're seeing the wave, and you're seeing the deep ocean, perceivable, not directly, but you can perceive it indirectly. The question that should come to your mind is, why is it that I'm not able to see the uniformity of the ocean throughout? The reason is it is only an effect. When you are concentrating on effect, the reality is lost. When you're concentrating on an illusion, the underlying truth is lost. When you're concentrating on the snake, the underlying rope is lost. So ignorance of the rope, ignorance of the ocean makes you believe that the wave exists independently, and ignorance of the wave makes you believe droplet of water exists independently. So if you look at this example, it tells you that Ishvara, which is the all-pervading creator, as though converted itself into Hiranyagarbha and Virata, which are just notional form to achieve a particular function and form. That's all. But in essence, it was Ishvara who himself is becoming all these things. The example and the tattva, there will be a problem in grasping, because any example I can take from the world is going to fall short of the truth. So I have to connect it with other things. So now, if you look at, when we say ocean, wave, and water, we have to understand the ocean, wave, and water is an upadhi for the water droplet. That water droplets which coalesced itself to appear as an ocean are the same water droplets which coalesced to become the wave, and is also the individual water droplet inside, which you are perceiving as a small drop of water being tossed around by the wave. So Ishvara is the ocean, which is the upadhi for that water droplet. Wave is a upadhi for Hiranyagarbha, comparing, and the Jiva upadhi is that small drop of water. Even though the same water droplet is perceived in three different ways with three different effects, in essence, the water droplet is not undergoing any change because of those effects. The effects are gross, water droplet is subtle. So the water droplet did not actually jump up and down, it just remained there as water droplet. But it gave an appearance as though the droplet of water is being tossed around. The effect that was produced is imagination, but the reality is only the water. So H2O was H2O in the ocean, H2O in the wave, as well as H2O inside the water droplet. That is a better understanding. And as a corollary, if you look at your body is made up of cells. Each cell in you has got a particular DNA pattern which identifies your existential chain in material field. I'm not talking about Vedanta here. So your cell, if you pick out one cell from you and analyze it, it is you. But the cell in your skin is different from the cell in your heart, is different from the cell in your blood. But the composition of the cell is the same throughout. So how did that cell become blood? How did the cell become skin? How did the cell become? It's only an appearance. So you're only an essence of consolidating cells in various forms and shapes, which gives with various names and forms. And you are giving it a consolidated name called Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat. But in essence, you are Brahman. That is what is to be understood. So you take yourself as an example and the ocean as an example, merge them together, you'll get a little bit close to understanding how to reconcile this Vedantic oneness which is being talked about. And the last example I will take, when you look at, when I ask you, is the sun rising in the east, what would your answer be? Yes or no?
Yes, definitely, because that is what we perceive.
Okay, but if I tell you sun is not really rising, will you disagree with me? No.
No.
Now see, you have contradicted yourself by saying I'm seeing something which I say is happening, but at the same time I'm able to negate it because of a superior knowledge. The superior knowledge is telling you that Brahman is the all-pervading truth on which everything is superimposed. So even though they appear to be like Virat, Vishwa, Taijasa, etc., understand the essence is Brahman. You should be able to intellectually negate it even when you're going through those experiences. That is the tatparyam of meditation in Vedanta.
A follow-up question to this very beautifully put explanation. It appears to me that since the ultimate goal of Vedanta is Brahmatma Aikya, I mean, that is what how the Atma Jnana or Aparokshana Buddhi is defined. It appears to me that Omkara Upasana helps us to attain that, to attaining Aikyam at all the three levels, at the waking level, at the dream level, and at the deep sleep level, in the sense that now first there it teaches the Aikyam of Vishwa and Virat, and then it teaches the Aikyam of Taijasa and Hiranyagarbha, and finally of Ishvara and Pragya, and beyond is same Brahman, as you mentioned, it takes up on different upadhis.
Okay, let's do this explanation through an interactive Q&A. Do you work in an organization, if I may ask?
Yes.
Give me a name for that organization.
Advaita Academy.
And do you also work elsewhere in some other capacity?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you have any other responsibility in life, like family, children, wife, or not?
Yes, yes.
So now you have dual role to play. At home, you're a husband, and with your children, you're a parent. And in Advaita Academy, you're responsible for certain functions. Now, if I were to ask you, which is the essential you, what will you tell me? It is none of the three, correct? In the same way, when I say that you are Karana Sharira Abhimani, you are Stula Sharira Abhimani, which is Vishwa, Prajna, etc., what you have to understand is that that conditioning that you have assumed yourself to be is not actually belonging to you. It is belonging to something external to you. Advaita Academy is not you, it is outside of you, but your association with Advaita Academy gives you a title, name, function, role, and everything. Your marriage with your wife gave you the responsibilities of a householder. Your being connected with your son as a son and father gave you the responsibility of bringing up all those activities. So in every single instance where you have an identity other than your true nature, there will always be a connection which is not belonging to you. It is coming from outside. The moment you recognize each one of those elements as not you, not you, not you, the connections will drop. And what remains is that Sakshi Chaitanyam which you are. That is what is Vedanta trying to tell us.
Thank you, Rammohanji, for this excellent session and excellent way of explaining the Q&A. And this is, I'm sure all of our audience have extremely benefited from this. So I think there are no more questions. With this, we come to the conclusion of Weekend with Wisdom. And on the behalf of entire Advaita Academy and all our viewers, we are very thankful for that you made time for us to attend this session. Thank you very much.
Can we do the Purna Madam and close it?
Please go ahead, sir.
Oh. Om. Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you again, sir. Viewers, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more updates on our programs. With this, we conclude this session. Shri Guru.